The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages are two 2001 action-adventure games in the Legend of Zelda series, developed by Flagship, a subsidiary of Capcom, and published by Nintendo for the Game Boy Color. The European cover art for Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. Regarding The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, their developer is Flagship. Their publisher is Nintendo. Their director is Hidemaro Fujibayashi. Their producer is Noritaka Funamizu. Their designers are Hidemaro Fujibayashi, Yukio Ikeda, and Suko Lee. Their artist is Yuzuki Nakano. Their writer is Hidemaro Fujibayashi. Their composers are Minako Adakai and Kiyohiro Sada. Their series is The Legend of Zelda. Their platform is Game Boy Color. Their release was JP, the 27th of February, 2001, NA, the 14th of May, 2001, EU, the 5th of October, 2001. Their genre is action-adventure. Their mode is single-player. The player controls Link from an overhead perspective. In Seasons, the Triforce transports Link to the land of Holodrum, where he sees Onox kidnapped in the Oracle of Seasons. In Ages, the Triforce transports Link to Labrina, where Varan possesses Nehru. The main plot is revealed once the player finishes both games. Link is armed with a sword and shield as well as a variety of secondary weapons and items for battling enemies and solving puzzles. The central items are the Rod of Seasons, which controls the seasons in Holodrum, and the Harp of Ages, which lets Link travel through time in Labrina. Before he can infiltrate Onox's castle and Varan's tower, Link must collect the 8 essences of nature and the 8 essences of time, which are hidden in dungeons and guarded by bosses. After experimenting with porting the original Legend of Zelda to the Game Boy Color, the Flagship team, supervised by Yoshiki Okamoto, began developing 3 interconnected Zelda games that could be played in any order. The complexity of this system led the team to cancel one game. Both Seasons and Ages were a critical success, and sold 3.96 million units each. Critics complimented the gameplay, colorful designs and graphic quality, but criticized the inconsistent sound quality. Both games were re-released on the Virtual Console of Nintendo 3DS in May 2013, and on the Nintendo Switch Online service in July 2023. In Oracle of Seasons, the environment changes with the season. From top left going clockwise, spring, summer, winter, autumn. Gameplay is sometimes affected by the seasons. During the winter, for example, a path opens up that cannot be accessed during any other season, or during spring, the flower can be used to access otherwise unreachable ledges. The gameplay of Oracle of Seasons and Ages is similar to that of Link's Awakening, 1993, for Game Boy, copying basic controls, graphics, and sounds. Like most Legend of Zelda games, exploration and combat take place from an overhead perspective. Link uses a sword for his primary attack, complemented by secondary weapons and items. Basic items such as bombs and a boomerang are common to both games. Other items are exclusive to one game, with a counterpart in the other. For example, the slingshot in Seasons and the seed shooter in Ages both shoot seeds, while the magnetic gloves in Seasons and the switch hook in Ages are used to access otherwise unreachable areas. Unlike most Zelda games, a sword and shield is not always equipped when the player possesses them. They can be assigned like any other item into either of 2 available slots. Most of each of the games is spent finding the 8 essences hidden in dungeons, large, usually underground, areas containing enemies and puzzles. Each dungeon culminates with a boss that guards the essence. When not in a dungeon, Link explores the overworld. In Seasons, the overworld consists of Holodrum and the subterranean world of Subrosia inhabited by the dwarf-like Subrosian people. The two worlds are linked by several portals. In Ages, Link travels between present-day Labrina and the past, connected by time holes. In either game, some areas of one world are accessible only from portals from the other and vice versa. Holodrum, Subrosia, and Labrina contain optional side quests and upgrades for Link and his equipment. One such side quest is Ring Collection. Rings provide Link with various bonuses and abilities, such as improved defense. Other rings have no practical uses or effects, for example rings that weaken Link's attack or defense, or transform Link into an enemy creature. Another side quest is the optional trading game, in which Link receives and delivers special items to certain people throughout the land. Once completed, Link receives an upgraded sword. In both games, there are many circumstances when a previous item can be upgraded into a more useful form. The latter 3 dungeons in both games will hold a more powerful version of an item received earlier in the game. Both the sword's offensive power and the shield's defensive abilities can be upgraded twice. The central item of Oracle of Seasons is the Rod of Seasons. By standing on a stump and swinging the rod, Link can change the season and affect his surroundings. For example, to cross a body of water, Link can change the season to winter and walk on the ice. Changing the season to summer causes vines to flourish, which Link can use to scale cliffs. When Link obtains the rod, he initially cannot use it. In the course of the game, Link visits 4 towers that house the 4 spirits of the seasons. Each tower Link visits allows him to switch to an additional season. In Oracle of Ages, the central item is the Harp of Ages, which Link uses to manipulate time and travel between the past and the present. In the course of the game, Link learns 3 tunes to play on the harp. The Tune of Echoes activates time portals at fixed locations. The Tune of Currents enables Link to travel from the past to the present without a time portal, and the Tune of Ages allows Link to switch between the 2 time periods at almost any location on the map. Although the two are built on the same game engine, Oracle of Ages concentrates on puzzles, while Oracle of Seasons focuses on action. Each is a complete game capable of interacting with the other, via passwords or a game link cable. Upon completing either game, players receive a password that can be used to play an alternative version of the other. In this version, some characters mention passwords that can be given to characters in the first game in exchange for an item or upgrade. By taking a new password back into the linked game, the item or upgrade can be transferred. Rings can be traded by this password system or randomly created by connecting 2 games with a game link cable. In the alternative version, plot points are changed or expanded upon to allow the game to serve as a sequel. It also features an extended ending in which Twinrover kidnaps Zelda, and lights the 3rd flame of despair to revive Ganon. The player can then enter Twinrover's lair and battle Twinrover and Ganon. Upon completing the alternative game, another password gives the player the victory ring, commemorating the defeat of Ganon. Seasons begins as the Triforce calls out to Link from within Hyrule Castle. Link approaches it, and is transported to a dark forest where he encounters a traveling group led by a dancer named Din. After Din welcomes Link to Holodrum, the sky becomes covered in black clouds. A voice from the clouds calls Din the Oracle of Seasons and refers to himself as Onox, General of Darkness. A funnel cloud drops from the sky, taking Din into its dark heights. Onox seals Din in a crystal and sinks the Temple of Seasons into the subterranean land of Subrosia, sending the seasons of Holodrum into disarray and causing them to change rapidly. Din's attendant, Impa, tells Link that they were headed for Hyrule. She instructs him to see the Marku tree in Horan village, the capital of Holodrum. Link finds a sword in a cave and makes his way to the tree. The Marku tree tells Link he will need the 8 essences of nature and gives him the gnarled key, which unlocks the dungeon holding the first essence. Link retrieves the 8 essences from 8 dungeons throughout Holodrum and Subrosia and brings them to the Marku tree, who uses them to create a huge Marku seed, a sacred evil cleansing seed that allows Link to enter Onox's castle. Link enters the castle, defeats Onox, and rescues Din, who tells him that he is now a true hero and must face a new trial soon. Twin Rover, watching the scene remotely, states that the flame of destruction has been powered by the havoc Onox has wrought. As with Seasons, the Triforce calls out to Link. Link is transported to a forest in the land of Labrina, where he hears screaming. In a clearing, Link finds Impa, surrounded by monsters, but the monsters flee when they see Link. Impa then asks Link to help her find a singer in the forest. The two find Neru, a young blue-haired woman singing on a tree stump surrounded by forest creatures. A shadow emerges from Impa and reveals itself as Varan, the sorceress of shadows. Varan possesses Neru, the Oracle of Ages. This disrupts the flow of time. Through Neru, Varan manipulates Queen Ambi into forcibly conscripting every capable man in Labrina to construct a large black tower. Link receives a sword from Impa and makes his way to the Marku tree in Lina City, the capital of Labrina. Varan orders that the Marku tree be killed. Link uses a time portal to travel to the past to prevent this. The Marku tree tells Link he will need the 8 essences of time to defeat Varan. Link sets out to retrieve the 8 essences, hidden in 8 dungeons throughout Labrina's past and present. After getting the 6th essence, Link is told he can save Neru. He invades Queen Ambi's castle and removes Varan's spirit from Neru, but Varan then possesses Queen Ambi. Link gathers the remaining essences and brings them to the Marku tree, who uses them to create a huge Marku seed that allows Link to enter Varan's Black Tower. Link ascends the tower and defeats Varan, rescues Queen Ambi, and Neru tells him that all has returned to normal. Twin Rover, watching the scene remotely, states that Varan has lit the flame of sorrow. If one game is played as a sequel to the other by a linked password, Twin Rover captures Princess Zelda, lighting the flame of despair. Link enters a warp point by the Marku tree and faces Twin Rover, who is attempting to use the 3 flames to revive Ganon. Link defeats Twin Rover, who sacrifice themselves in place of Zelda, resulting in Ganon being revived as a mindless raging beast that Link kills. He frees Zelda and together, they exit the crumbling castle. After the credits, Link is seen waving to a crowd from a sailboat off the shore of a land with a castle in the background. In early 1999, Yoshiki Okamoto, then head of Capcom's screenwriter subsidiary Flagship, proposed remaking the original The Legend of Zelda for the Game Boy Color to Shigeru Miyamoto, the game designer at Nintendo who created the series. Okamoto wanted to remake the original game so that young children could play it, but also as a test for the development team to move on to a more ambitious sequel if it was successful. Okamoto wanted to work on games and follow them up with sequels in 4 to 5 months, including Zelda games in this workflow. According to reporting by IGN, Okamoto was asked to develop 6 Zelda games for the Game Boy Color, 2 based on earlier installments and 4 original entries, but Okamoto disputed this. Contrary to Miyamoto's design mentality of creating the gameplay system first, development started out with the scenario writing, which Flagship was in charge of. Some of the staff members, including the team led by director and designer Hidemaro Fujibayashi that was responsible for tasks other than the storyline, wanted to skip the remake and create an original Zelda game right away. As the original game was deemed too difficult for the new generation of players, more and more changes were applied to the point where it had an entirely different world map. As a result, the team ran into problems because the scenario and the maps had to be reworked constantly to make all the modifications match. The Game Boy Color's screen presented an additional hurdle when attempting to rework the earlier Zelda game, as it was narrower than that of a television. Players could not view an entire room without scrolling, which made it easy to overlook stairways or clues on walls. Dismayed by the lack of progress, Okamoto asked Miyamoto for help, who proposed a trilogy of games, each with a different focus on gameplay elements. This trilogy was referred to as the Triforce series, named after the Triforce, a relic that plays a role in many Zelda games. The Triforce is composed of 3 parts: the Triforces of Power, Wisdom, and Courage. Each game in the trilogy was going to be associated with a piece of the Triforce, with one game being the conversion of the original The Legend of Zelda. The first game was demonstrated at Nintendo's Space World Trade Show in 1999, under the working title for Shigi no Kinamichikra no SH. This action-oriented game concerned Ganon's theft of Princess Zelda and the Rod of the Seasons, which threw the Seasons of Hyrule into chaos, a precursor to the plot of Oracle of Seasons. In the playable demonstration, Link solved puzzles by using the Rod of the Seasons to manipulate the environment and change the current season. Chi no SH, which focused on color-based puzzles, and Yuki no SH, which used the times of day to solve puzzles in a mechanic similar to the use of seasons, were not shown. In the US, the games became Mystical Seed of Power, Mystical Seed of Wisdom, and Mystical Seed of Courage. The games interacted with each other. Players could begin with any of the 3 games and have the actions of the first game affect the story of the other 2, a concept conceived by Okamoto. More than 10 of Flagship's scenarists, among them Resident Evil writer Junichi Miyashita, worked on the 3 stories. The developers considered using a cell phone adapter to transfer data, but decided on a password system. The limitations of this system and the difficulty of coordinating 3 games proved too complicated, so the project was scaled back to 2 games at Miyamoto's suggestion. Condensing the games into a single cartridge was never considered, as the prospect of multiple endings and the added replay value afforded by the ability to play the games in either order was too important. Oracle of Seasons was adapted from Mystical Seed of Power, Oracle of Ages was adapted from Mystical Seed of Courage, and Mystical Seed of Wisdom was cancelled. These sweeping design changes pushed the release dates closer to the release of the Game Boy Advance, GBA, the next system in the Game Boy line that is backward compatible with Game Boy Color games. The team considered adding special functionality to the game triggered only when played on a GBA, but was afraid that the additional development time required for the addition would cause the games to be released after the GBA. When the release date of the GBA was postponed, the team was able to incorporate GBA functionality and release the games approximately a month before the GBA was released. Staggered releases were abandoned in favor of releasing the games simultaneously. This made it easier for the team to test the interaction between the games and keep the style consistent. Each game was shipped on an 8 megabit, 16 megabit in Europe, cartridge. The music was composed by 2 employees of the Japanese music and sound effect production company Pure Sound, credited under the pseudonyms WWKA and Kyopi. Nintendo artist and series regular Yuzuki Nakano designed the characters, and incorporated previous creations from Ocarina of Time into Oracle of Seasons and characters from Majora's Mask into Oracle of Ages. Regarding reception, and regarding aggregate score, here is the aggregator and scores. Game rankings, 91.37%, Seasons, based on 23 reviews, and 92.20%, Ages, based on 20 reviews. Regarding review scores, here are the publications and scores. Electronic Gaming Monthly, 9.0 out of 10 and 9.5 out of 10. Famitsu 31 out of 40, Seasons, and 30 out of 40, Ages. GamePro, 4 out of 5. GameSpot, 9.2 out of 10. IGN, 10 out of 10. Nintendo Power, 5 out of 5. Power Unlimited, 91 out of 100, Seasons and Ages. Oracle of Seasons and Ages were critical and commercial successes, selling 3.96 million copies each. In Japan, they were the third best-selling Game Boy Color game, with 746,054 copies sold. Reviews were strongly positive. Chris Carroll of IGN said that Seasons and Ages were the best games ever made for the Game Boy Color, and Craig Majaski of Gaming Age called them the 2 best games ever to grace a handheld system. GameSpot presented Ages and Seasons, collectively, with its annual Best Game Boy Color Game Award. It was rated the 34th, Seasons, and 39th, Ages, best games made on a Nintendo system in Nintendo Power's Top 200 Games list. In August 2008, Nintendo Power listed Oracle of Seasons and Ages as the 4th and 5th best Game Boy / Game Boy Color video games respectively. The games placed joint 57th in official Nintendo magazine's 100 Greatest Nintendo Games of All Time. Game Informer's Ben Reeves called them the 10th best Game Boy games collectively. The interconnection was seen as one of the highlight features. The ability to play the games in reverse order after completion increases the replay value, as does trading passwords between the two. Games Radar listed The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons / Ages as one of the games they want in the 3DS Virtual Console. Both Oracle of Ages and Seasons were later released on the platform on the 30th of May 2013. During the 5th Annual Interactive Achievement Awards, the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences nominated Oracle of Seasons for Handheld Game of the Year, while Oracle of Ages was nominated for Console Role-Playing Game of the Year. Critics enjoyed the graphics. GamePro called Seasons bright and colorful with surprisingly expressive and well-designed animations, and Gaming Target said Ages is beautiful and creative, with meticulous attention to detail. Gaming Age called both games the pinnacle of good graphics on the Game Boy Color system. Although the two share graphics to a large extent, Seasons is distinguished by swapping the color palette to reflect the current season. IGN felt that the expressive colors used for the changing seasons made Seasons the more graphically impressive of the two. Reviews of the audio were mixed. Reviewers noted that the sound was hampered by the poor quality of the Game Boy Color's speakers, although it fared favorably compared with other games for the system. The selection of songs was praised for complementing familiar Zelda songs and sounds with new music. The Zelda theme and the traditional sound effect played upon solving a puzzle were considered welcome additions, but other sound effects were criticized as simplistic beeps. 2 game books were released based on the games as part of the Nintendo You Decide on the Adventure series by Scholastic. Both were written by Craig Wessel and based on the events in the games with few minor differences. The first one, based on Oracle of Seasons, was published in October 2001. The second, based on Oracle of Ages, was published in January 2002.